Reggae Just Extra with Ras Dennis.
I've got to carry a heavy load, because I walk in His gladness on His merry, merry road. I've got to carry a heavy load.
Trevor Sutherland's life began with emptiness, his father gone, his mother oceans away, poverty pressing in on every side. He wandered the streets of Kingston, searching for love but finding only survival. Then came prison, where despair could have destroyed him. But instead, it became the place of his rebirth, as Ijahman Levi, a voice of prophecy and redemption. This is not just a story. This is the plight and legacy of Ijahman Levi. My name is Ras Dennis, and this is Reggae Just Extra, your #1 source for music, facts, and culture.
This is the story of a man who met Jah in his darkest hour and rose to carry the light.
Ijahman Levi was born Trevor Sutherland in the quiet hills of Christiana, Manchester, Jamaica, in June 1946. But his world was far from quiet. From the very beginning, life pressed against him with the weight of hardship. Poverty was not a stranger, it was his first companion. Hunger gnawed at his childhood. Nights were long and uncertain, days were marked by want. He grew up longing, always longing, for food, for comfort, for love, for the warmth of a family that never seemed whole. His father was absent. His mother, like so many Jamaican women of her generation, left for England in search of work, hoping to build a better life for herself and her children. But for little Trevor, her departure did not feel like sacrifice. It felt like abandonment. He was too young to understand her struggle. All he knew was that her arms, once his shelter, were gone. The emptiness carved a wound in his heart that words could never explain. He was a child, but already he knew what loneliness tasted like. Already, he knew that life would not be kind. Growing up too fast with no steady hand to guide him, Trevor was forced to grow up before his time. Kingston called him the bustling, restless capital. The streets of Kingston became his home, his classroom, his battleground. There, survival was the only subject taught, and the lessons were brutal. He witnessed violence. He learned the art of hustling. He tasted betrayal. He searched desperately for belonging, somewhere, anywhere, to fill the void that his broken childhood had left. But the more he searched, the more he was pulled into the very world that threatened to consume him. For a boy without guidance, the street offers only two things: temptation and destruction.
I've got to pick up where them say Jah Jah left off and gone. I have to carry Jah heavy.
By the late 1960s, Trevor left Jamaica and traveled to England, chasing the dream that so many of his countrymen pursued. Perhaps there, he thought, life would finally change. Perhaps England would offer the opportunity Jamaica had denied him. But instead of opportunity, he found himself pulled deeper into the claws of survival. Choices made in desperation soon led to his downfall. Caught in crime, Trevor was condemned to prison. Prison was merciless. Cold stone walls closed in around him, stripping him of freedom, of dignity, of hope. The boy who once wandered Kingston's dusty streets now sat behind iron bars in a foreign land. Condemned not just by his own mistakes, but by a world that had failed him long before he ever stepped into that cell. For Trevor, this was rock bottom. But in the deepest darkness, a light appeared. Behind those bars, Trevor found something no one could ever take from him: faith. Within prison walls, he discovered the teachings of Rastafari. The message of His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, strength, dignity, redemption, spoke directly to his broken soul. Prison, once a place of punishment, became a temple of rebirth. Trevor began to read, to meditate, to search within himself. He found wisdom where once there had been emptiness. He found a father in Jah where once there had been absence. And slowly, painfully, he was transformed. He began to write. His sorrow, his hunger, his loneliness, all poured out of him in lyrics and melodies. He was no longer Trevor Sutherland. That man died in prison. In his place was born Ijahman Levi, a new name for a new life. Through Rastafari, he found purpose. Through music, he found his voice. His masterpiece, Jah Heavy Load, was not just a song, it was a confession, a prayer, a cry of deliverance. It was the sound of a man who had carried chains of poverty, abandonment, and sin, and had laid them down before Jah. Every note carried the weight of his journey, every word the pain of his past.
Holy man will I King Selassie, Jah Rastafari.
When Levi stepped out of prison, he carried with him more than freedom. He carried a mission. In the 1970s, reggae exploded across the world. But while many voices sang for rebellion or for celebration, Levi's voice was different. His voice was heavy with prophecy. Spiritual. Unshakable. His albums, Highly I Am, and Are We a Warrior, were not mere records, they were scripture set to song. Each lyric was soaked in the hunger of his childhood. Each verse echoed the loneliness of abandonment. Each chorus carried the fire of prison and the peace of redemption. He was not chasing fame. He was carrying a burden, a message for the oppressed, the lost, the weary. As years passed, his music deepened. His voice, once a cry of pain, now embraced love. His duets with his wife, Madge, revealed another side of him, tender, faithful, grounded. The boy who once felt unloved now sang with love at the center of his being. The man who once walked the streets alone now walked with a partner by his side. Though he never reached the towering superstardom of Bob Marley, among the faithful he was revered. His voice carried authority. His words carried healing. His life stood as proof of survival and transformation. He who was once abandoned, found love. He who was once imprisoned, found freedom. He who was once voiceless, became a voice for generations. Today, Ijahman Levi is remembered not merely as a singer, but as a warrior of the spirit. He turned poverty into prophecy. He turned abandonment into testimony. He turned imprisonment into revelation. His legacy lives not only in his songs, but in the truth they carry, that no matter how broken, no matter how lost, redemption is possible. When you hear Ijahman sing, you do not just hear music. You hear a child's cry in Jamaica. You hear the clanging of prison bars in England. You hear the voice of a man who met Jah in his darkest hour and rose to carry the light. The plight and legacy of Ijahman Levi. A voice of redemption. A warrior of Rastafari.
This rumor situation that is spreading across the nation, trying to dim the light, been precious in my Father's sight.
That's it for this episode, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and leave a positive comment in the section below, and I'll see you again very soon for another interesting video.